to the mountaintop. Feel the rhythm of the beat won't stop. Hands up high, let the bassline drop. It's just a sound that'll make you hop.
Welcome to Been to the Mountaintop podcast. I'm your host, Steve Larziliere. Today's guest is Carrie Scott, an art historian, curator, and founder of Scene.Art, a next-gen art consultancy making one of the most exclusive industries radically more accessible. Carrie spent 20 years in the art world, running galleries in New York and Seattle, curating globally and directing Nick Knight's archive and show studio. Shop for over a decade. In 2024, she launched Scene.Art, a platform using WhatsApp groups, short form content, and direct community to help collectors, artists, and art curious break through the gatekeeping. Her mission is rooted in clarity, access, and creative health because she believes art isn't just about aesthetics, it's about survival. Amen. Carrie's building something for a deeper than business. She's creating a new kind of cultural infrastructure. This is Carrie Scott. Welcome to Been to the Mountaintop.
And Steve, I'm taking that intro and I'm going to put it on the top of my podcast.
Yeah. Let's go.
Damn, that
I'll
was
copy
quick.
and paste it. Yeah. Cool. So give us a little bit of background. You know, when I first started following you, I was like, she looks like she's in London, but I hear an American accent. Just give me the background and how'd you end up in London?
So I am neither American nor British.
Okay.
And I mean that sincerely. I'm a bit of a zebra. I was born in the UK to two British parents. They got divorced. My mom and stepdad moved me and my elder brother to America, and I spent my life going back and forth between the UK and the United States. And back then, it's the 80s. That was hard to do.
Yeah.
So I only came like once or twice a year at best. But also, America's cultural capital and the UK's cultural capital were like epic, right? I'd show up in England and British people were like, Coca-Cola, Madonna, Michael Jackson, these are the coolest things ever. You're so cool. And then I'd go back to America and they'd be like, Oasis and Blur and Pulp and woo, you're awesome too. So I quickly realized that being a chameleon was going to be an advantage for one, but that also I was bound to never fit in anywhere, right? I'd come to the UK and all of my father's friends would be like, that ghastly accent, what are we going to do about that? And I'd be like, oh, leave me alone. And then in the States, right, I'd go to school with like a sausage sandwich and friends would be like, dude, peanut butter. Like, where's your peanut butter?
Yeah.
So never, ever, ever also thought I'd come back here because England is tiny and it is a small island and it's full of some very interesting nuance. Not to say I don't love it, nor do I call it home, but I do. And then I fell in love with this British guy and I moved here and I've now almost lived here exactly 50-50. So half of my life there and half of my life here. I've got these two British kids who are, like, call me mummy, but then also, as what we were talking about earlier, like they ride skateboards and they want to BMX and they love America and what America stands for to you and me, not maybe what it stands for at the moment politically. And so I've now given birth to these two kids who are stuck like me. So there you go. That's why I'm a bit weird.
Yeah, no, and that probably that chameleon background probably makes you a great translator of different cultures and perspectives, right? Like I almost feel like those chameleons, like in Black culture, they call them unicorns, right? Like it's just like people that you don't fit anywhere, but you fit everywhere, and you have all these different types of friends, and that's probably helped you tremendously in your career. So you worked in some pretty powerful institutions in the art world, and now you're building something outside of it. Could you talk about how you started to launch Scene.Art and what wasn't working and what were you trying to reclaim or redesign?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this makes it all sound like it makes perfect sense, but it obviously doesn't. And no one's journey is this linear. But I've never colored in the lines very well, right? I tried corporate America for a hot minute. I worked at Condé Nast and I was terrible in that kind of environment. And then I went back to school. So I did my graduate degree in Seattle. And while I was there, I got to do like everything, right? It's a small town, a small city. You could like be writing for the Seattle Art newspaper or the Seattle newspaper. I could be running a nonprofit and the director of a commercial gallery all at once. And it was epic, right? Like so fun. Got to do all the things. And then got recruited to go and run Nicole Clagsburn in New York. And that was a big, like, I was going to be the director of a big Chelsea gallery. And it was supposed to be, I'd landed on all the feet, right? And I got there and again, kind of hated it. Like this idea that I was going to be just one thing, right? Just the director, just do sales, just focus on kind of the day-to-day selling of the work. And it's a terrible fit for me. So I started my business in 2009 when Clagsburn actually let me go in a round of layoffs right after Lehman collapsed. And it was like I needed a Hail Mary, right? Like I had to pay off my student loans and I wasn't getting a job. So I was like, right, I've got to just figure out how to do this myself. And I know I'll help galleries like better professionalize what they do. So I'll help them with press releases and I'll do some brand partnerships here and there. And maybe I'll help artists do that too. And my first like big client was I did a tiny pop-up at Rag & Bone where they paid me, I think, $500 to put like 3 artworks in.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, it just kind of built. And for about 16 years, that was the core activity of my business, was doing like wild stuff outside of the like traditional white cube. So books, documentaries, exhibitions in construction sites, and all the while also doing some stuff in museums. So like I did a huge show in Tokyo and Seoul. So was doing traditional stuff, doing non-traditional stuff, kind of doing it all and loving it. And while I was doing that, someone asked me to be on a program called The Art Show, which was all about art. And I was pulled in as the like heavy hitting, ask the artist the hard questions that you would never ask unless the cameras were rolling. And I loved it. Like loved the excuse, right? Like, you know what it's like.
To just
If you're at a
talk to
dinner
people.
party
Yeah,
with
yeah.
someone.
Yeah.
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 And like the excuse you've got, you can ask me anything. And right now, because the cameras are rolling and it's okay.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe if you asked me that in polite society at a cocktail party and you were like, Carrie, explain yourself, right?
Yeah.
I'd be like, dude, don't be so aggressive. But I love it in this format.
Yeah.
So I realized I loved it. I pitched it around to a bunch of like execs, like, could we forget this magazine style TV show, though I loved the art show. I was like, let's just do like a talk show style thing. And we could really bring some energy and entertainment to art and the art world. And crucially, like, why are we not putting the artists out front? Like, why is all art television this like dry, boring, like we make the artists into this like academic, and none of them, like none of them are really like that. Most artists are so much fun. They've got so much character. They've got all these crazy ass ideas. And sure, they can be academic and rigorous and all those things, but at the heart of it, it's a bunch of creatives who are allowing themselves to be kind of childlike ultimately.
Yeah.
So I was like, why can't we have TV like that? And it will surprise absolutely no one to hear that all the TV execs were like, yeah, cute idea, but no. And so then I was like, well, hang on. Like, why doesn't the art world have like a YouTube town square? Like, why don't I just do it a bit more grassroots? And you look at these other passion niche industries, whether it's music or mountain biking or skateboarding.
Yeah.
And you have these experts in that field who will talk about like, what's the best mountain bike to buy, or how do you do a jump? But the art world doesn't have that. So my hope with Scene was to start that kind of movement, right? Like get a bunch of us all talking about art, like the way that art is meant to be consumed, which is from the heart, right? Like we don't need, great, I have a master's, I almost did a PhD, but I don't need to sit here and talk to you about these aesthetics of failure or whatever BS I might sort of contrive to make myself sound smarter. I just want to talk to you about how epic, I'm trying to think of a great example, Lubaina Hamid, right? Like the conversation I had with her a couple months ago, I mean, I almost burst into tears with this woman, and she made me realize that actually my entire identity is based on this fact that I'm neither English nor British, and I feel like I don't belong anywhere.
That's what art does, though. But that's literally, if you meet the right artist and then you are standing right next to them as they explain their work, They tell you they are a reflection of yourself. And honestly, that's a gift. People don't get it. They don't get it. It's a gift.
So true. And I think we've spent too long trying to well, okay, let's get into that. The art market has spent too long, one, over financializing itself.
Yeah.
So this idea that art is an asset and that we need to collect it and we need to preserve it and we need to look, it's like, what's the point of culture, everybody?
Yeah.
Like, what is the actual point of making art in the first place? It's not as a mechanism to make money. It's a mechanism to express yourself and bring you closer to other people and vice versa.
Yeah.
So like, let's get back to that a bit.
Yeah.
And of course, we all want to make money, and I want artists to make money. But I think that the value exchange is so broken in the art world that actually we're neither serving the tippy top nor the very bottom. Everyone's getting messed up in it.
The shaft. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Except for the collectors who figure out how to play the system and the market and build hype and then flip it for profit, which the artists don't really see the exchange.
No, and even that's like a new and messed up phenomenon, right? Like if you look at the way people collected, I mean, even in the like early thousands, that's not what it was ever about. It was about cultural preservation, cultural wealth,
Yeah.
supporting artists. And this may or may not work as an analogy, but I have a client who was buying Basquiat before Basquiat was expensive, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so we're talking sub 100K.
Yeah.
And she was so excited about the work. And this is a woman who she's got huge wealth. So
Yeah.
great. But this 20 years ago, right? Basquiat was not expensive until recently.
Yeah.
And she sort of saw that wasn't being looked after. So she started buying lots. Now,
That's crazy.
has it made her a ton of money? Yeah, it has. But it's not like she's out there flipping them. She's now building a museum.
She's preserved. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think also too, when you think about that, there are moments in time, like I'm in Chicago, right? And I got to see Frida Kahlo at the Art Institute. Everybody knows her background. Everybody knows the movie, but to see the pictures from the movie in real life and to like lay that and overlay as to like where historically where we are, that's like, again, it goes back to art or moments in picture of time, which I feel like right now have been really bastardized because we all have a phone, we can all take pictures, we can all take video, and then they're all deletable. But I feel like with art, I think what I've been trying to like really connect with and really this itch that I'm trying to scratch is like, how can we allow it to be a conversation piece and a place for communities to tell more stories and own the story? And like, yeah, sure, your collectors and your artists, they're part of the ecosystem, but they're not the only ecosystem, right? Like, I don't know.
No, I mean, you need viewers, right? That's the other thing. If you're sat here, I mean, it's that classic, like, if a tree falls, does anyone hear it?
Yeah.
Right? But if you're not getting art in front of an audience, what are you doing? And what are we doing? Like, what is the art world doing? We know that no one goes to galleries, really. And that has been the case for my entire career, and which is why I didn't want bricks and mortar, right? I had this amazing boss in Seattle. We had a tiny gallery. We were doing amazing shows, and people, sure, they'd come for the opening and collectors would come when you invited them in, but our footfall on a day-to-day basis, you'd have no one in there. Same rules apply to Chelsea, New York, right? Like on any given day, you've got 4 or 5 people that come through the door. There are exceptions to that. Of course there are. Misan Harriman has a show up right now at Hope 90 in London, and their footfall is, I'm sure, record breaking.
Yeah.
Kind of because of who he is, a little bit because of what the content is. So he's a civil rights
Yeah.
portrait artist. He's an amazing guy.
Yeah.
And what he's talking about is so timely that I think it resonates with a much wider audience than the art world. But that's an exception to the rule. Whereas most galleries, it's crickets, right? Like there's no one in there. And why is that? Do you want to go into a store where you have to whisper? No thanks.
Oh,
Do
yeah.
you want to go into a store where no one tells you what the price of anything is? No thanks.
Oh,
Do you want to go into a store where people make you feel stupid? Absolutely no
absolutely.
way. Sorry.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
language is terrible.
Yeah. Huh. So one of the things that you said was that creative health is essential, and that really struck me. Like, what does creative health mean to you, and how do we protect it in this like current cultural and tech climate?
Yeah. So I'm sure like you, right? I think a lot about my physical health, right? I like look after myself. I go to the gym 3, 4 times a week. I try and eat well. I don't drink. Like, right, top of the pyramid. If I don't have my health, I've got nothing. Next to that, my mental well-being, right? Like, how am I feeling? Am I okay? Am I happy? Am I sad? All those things. I put myself in therapy multiple times, and not until literally last year, and am I have always been, art has saved me time and time again. I have never thought about how art contributes to my mental health.
Mm.
And then I was like, well, hang on. Aren't we missing an entire like moment that we should talk about where we talk about how creativity supports health,
Yeah.
right? And this is a rabbit hole I've only just started going down. I said it out loud for the first time the other day online, and I was like, are people going to think I'm crazy? But I think it's like beyond essential, especially right now. And whether that's creative health through visual art or music,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's like making things ourselves or consuming them. So
Yeah.
going to see an exhibition, going to see um, a concert. And I hate to bring it back to kids, but you learn so much when you're watching your children, right? My kids, like one of them played recorder for a hot minute. That is Satan's whistle. It's like the worst
Satan's whistle.
noise
Yeah.
ever,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But you could see him, and they both love music. They love, like, we have a dance party most weekends where we're all just running around being stupid to music. But like you can play an instrument and be bad at it, and you can still end up being the kid that is obsessed with going to concerts.
Yeah.
But how often do you hear people say, like, oh, I was never good at art as a kid,
All the time.
and so I never got into it. And you're like, wait, what? But did you like are you a violin like aficionado? And that's why you now listen to whatever you listen to? Like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Why did you walk away from art because you weren't good at it? Who made that connection? So how do we get back to that? Like how do we get back to saying, no, you can go look at something and not understand it. You can ask
Yeah.
all the questions about it because that's the point of it. And you never needed to be good. And so maybe those are two contrasting thoughts in my brain, but that's how like I'm in the beginning of thinking about this, that like our creative health is so tied up in our well-being and we just don't talk about it or think about it even.
I wholeheartedly agree with that, and I think I kind of know the answer. And I think it's honestly, I think it's like institutional oppression, having us believe that we're supposed to be good at everything that we do, and therefore anything that is subjective, anything that you can't measure, anything that doesn't have a scoreboard attached to it, like you're not good at. It's hard to interpret, right? But meanwhile, those things are the things that society deems as being the most like morally superior. But on an individual level, like I don't think we actually appreciate it. Now I don't nobody's willing to like put themselves out there for that to happen. Which, as you were talking and you said it earlier too, just about like this childlike behavior, right? Like which you talked about artists. It reminded me of, and I was probably like I was at 1 degree away from Virgil Abloh. But the year that he died, I probably would have met him that year. Like if he'd hadn't died, I probably would have met him. And he would always talk about like having this childlike curiosity, which I feel like that's what art does. It's like you see it and you're like, oh, this is something so free, so playful. And like for those that allow themselves they see it and they want it. And that's probably why we are so attracted to it, because you see people performing, whether it's a canvas or whether it's a concert, at their highest form. And it gives you goosebumps. And to be so free, which is, I mean, towards my next sort of line of questioning is like how does art, how do we take the thing that you fucking devoted your career to and make it so that people feel a sense of freedom and then they adopt it and like, fuck, I want this all the time in my life. Like that's what I'm super curious about, you know?
So I think you've just touched on like 10 things at once, but this idea that there is no like score sheet, right? That there's no binary. It's not there. Art is not right or wrong. And that again, that's okay in music
Yeah.
because we've kind of decided that it's okay to have music that you don't like or music that you do like and genres that you are interested in and genres that you're not maybe. But that's because there's musical literacy that is built into society from the beginning.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we sing like patty cake, and from there, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
Whatever your parents are playing,
Yeah.
right, as part of that education. But because art got tied up with financial value,
Yes.
mistakenly, um, and ownership became part of the story. I think that we just stopped giving people visual literacy. And so again, and like it sounds like it is ridiculous. I'm insane. Like I'm on this mission to get more people to stand in front of things and just look at them and say, I don't get it. Do I get it? Do you get it? Let's just talk about it.
Let's just
And
talk about
and
it for sure.
let's just talk about it, right? Because
Yeah.
so often, I mean, you talked about Chicago. When I was going to grad school, I took the train across country like a total weirdo because I wanted to feel the move and I had never been anywhere. I went back and forth between Connecticut and London my entire life because I had to go see my dad at every holiday. And so I was like, I'm going to feel the move. I'm going to Seattle. I've never been there. I'm going to take the train one way because that's all I could afford. So I did like one-way tickets. Anyway, got to Chicago and went into, it must be Chicago, and said, where are the Rothkos? Where are they? They're somewhere.
Yeah,
They must be the Chicago one.
Art Institute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I go in there and I've seen Rothko my entire life. I've seen them in New York for sure.
Mm.
But that room at the end, I like sat down in there and I was like, I don't get what's happening to me. What is happening to me? And like, what happens in front of a Rothko? It's so weird. It's color. How does it do that? It does this thing and it's like all consuming strange feeling that is probably based in science, right? That it is actually doing something to your brain and making you feel all these things that are based on some human biology that we don't really understand, but we all know it. Like how many people have talked about going into that room and having some experience, but they talk about it in the art world, but you might not talk to someone random on the street about it. But why? Like, let's just all talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, I think I don't know. These are the types of conversations that I want to have, because what it does is like allow for for what I call infinite possibilities. Once you start seeing things a certain way, you can't unsee them. And I know it's just like a really, I don't know, it's just it feels very liberating, right? To allow yourself to go there, right? And I'm fortunate enough that I worked for a couple years in the art gallery, and I didn't really know what I was doing in the art gallery, but I know that I felt something, and I knew that I felt when I helped somebody purchase something and they got it in their house, they felt something too, right? And I think more so now than ever, we need to feel that, right? And like you talked about Misan Harris, you talked about it.
Amen.
You made a post about him the other day, and I was already following him, but the context in which that's why cultural translators are amazing, right? Because like you can follow him and see it, but then somebody talks about him, and then it gives you a different lens and a different perspective. And so, I mean, that's beautiful. All right. So Scene.Art uses WhatsApp groups, voice notes, short form content. Like it feels really community. Like I kind of knew that we were gonna get along because I build WhatsApp communities and like I do sort of stuff as well. It feels like a community model, not just a consultancy. Can you talk about why you chose that format?
Yeah. I mean, some of it is like, what's the lowest barrier for me to build a business, right? So let's be honest about the fact that one, I didn't want to go out and like, this is not a tech play. This is an information play. So I didn't need to reinvent the wheels. And what were the things that were out there that I could use effectively? And most of the time when I'm communicating with anyone, I'm communicating on WhatsApp, right? And I'm just zipping back and forth like, hey, did you see the show? Or even if I'm sending stuff to clients to buy, I'll send it there rather than email. And so I was like, well, we can do a newsletter. Sure. Let's do an email newsletter. But actually, we're going to be more fun to set up a WhatsApp and people can join and it can be a one-way transmit. But then if we get people who want to talk to each other, they can go off in little groups. And so that's what it was born out of. And that's still where it sits. I don't think you need, despite being an incredibly wordy person, I think it's really important not to be super wordy unless there's an opportunity, like you're giving me the floor now, so I get to talk away. But I think that like we don't need essay after essay to tell you to go see the show. Like, let me show you a picture of the art and the details, go see it. If you think it looks cool, go see it. So I wanted to be really, really deliberate about doing short form content where possible. And yet, when I'm talking to artists, I give them the floor for as long as they need, right? Our artist interviews, some of them have gone on for an hour because I think the artists are the heart of this whole industry and they haven't been put at the center of it for a really long time, right? Everything's been filtered, whether it's a press release or it's a consultant or a dealer or an art historian telling you what they mean. I started to be like, well, it's wild. Like, why isn't there a master interview with, who did you mention earlier? Chuck Close or even Virgil, right? Like,
Yeah.
there isn't, I mean, what a shame that is. There's not like an hour-long interview with him where he sits down and is like, this is why I do what I do. There's lots on him and around him, but not one that start to finish. So yeah, my hope was that we'd get some of those in the bank and build up a little library. And again, have it accessible to all eventually. So it sits on Scene for about 6 months behind a paywall and then it goes out and they're immediately, or not quite immediately, but we put them on podcasts too. So if you want to watch it, you have to be inside the paywall. But if you want to listen to it, you can listen to it for free a couple of weeks after.
That's great. That's great. So I want to ask a selfish question. You ever feel like your shit matters?
Does what?
Does all this matter?
Oh God, yes. Yeah. Like, so, oh God, I can't believe that's what you asked me. Yeah, it matters. It matters so much. It matters so much now,
Yeah.
right? And again, I sound like a crazy person because who am I? Like, I'm working from home today. I've got like this crazy setup in this tiny little office that I have. So who am I to even say what I'm about to say? But like, there's a massive problem brewing, and it's been brewing for a really long time. I think artists are like the center of being able to fix it, and I mean that like urgently and desperately. And right, we have become so polarized as humans, and we sit on these extreme sides, and we think like and I think that artists are the bridge, and I think they can get us back to empathy, they can get us back to humanity, they can get us back to being able to communicate with respect, and I think it's urgent. So yeah, I think the ship really fucking matters.
It's funny because I feel like I started this podcast literally just to have you say that answer to that question, because I don't know, 6 months ago I went down this rabbit hole myself of, all right, because when you start speaking truth to fact, right? So like, or basically you see what's happening in the world, and like I see what's happening, you see what's happening, and it seems like in the UK it feels it's mirroring what's happening in the US, right? Like in terms of suppression of voice, suppression of culture, suppression of certain populations of people, the eradication and not sort of acknowledging groups of people, right? Like all of the things. And I kept thinking like, okay, who are the truly free people? Like who are the people that are like that are free? And I went down, I was like, huh. Okay, if you're in real estate, they could take over your real estate holdings. They have asset they right, and they're like, all right, who else? And I was like, fucking artists and musicians. Like if they're not tied to like some government funded thing, like they are probably the most free people, and we should probably protect them at all costs.
Yeah.
And we should be nurturing as many of that to happen as possible. Like proliferate as much creativity as possible.
And authenticity, right? Like who are the most authentic
Yeah.
people on the globe,
Yeah. Oh,
right?
exactly. 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 Yes.
And this is why our creative health matters.
And also too, they're the ones that literally could be supported by other people. That got me really excited. Thank you for answering. Thanks for going there with me. So I've been thinking a lot about your cultural wealth and how legacy isn't just what we leave behind, but what we design in real time. How do you think about legacy in your work, not just for yourself, but for the artists and the community? Like, what does legacy look like for you?
Man, I think about this from time to time. I really hope that like we are building an archive and a little library here that people will look to for a while. Probably not very long because let's be honest, the right, like, well, actually that's not true. You think about books that are still going, and let's hope that this collection of interviews stands the test of time. But ultimately, and I'm going to tell you an anecdote that I've not publicly told anyone. So I was at the theater the other day. I've seen Stereophonic, which is a great play if anyone's not seen it.
Mm,
Um, all about music. It's all done in a recording studio. It's hilarious and heartbreaking all at once. Best kind of art. And at the intermission, this woman comes up to me and she's like, I'm really sorry to interrupt. I just have to introduce myself and tell you that I love your podcast. And I was like, what? And also, like, the podcast is such a small part of what we do compared to Instagram that I was like, okay, the first time anyone's ever said that. Thanks so much. And she's like, actually, I'm the head of art at a high school.
mm.
And we use your podcast with our sixth form students. And I was like, you do what now? She's like, yeah, so sixth form students are 18 years old, like 17, 18 is the last years of high school. And she's like, yeah, every week we listen to a new artist and then we discuss it. And I assign it as homework. And I was like,
Whoa.
are you serious?
Whoa. Yeah.
Like, what's happening? And she then goes on this whole diatribe about Leonardo Drew, who, right, Americans know really well, but British people don't.
Yeah.
He has not sort of had the same relevance outside of the US, and it's happening. But she then went on to tell me all about like how the students talked about Leo's work for so long. And I was like almost in tears. I'm like shaking. I'm so happy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is it. This is it. This is everything. And so for me, it's how can we get like your podcast, my podcast, everyone's podcast into schools so that kids feel like that they've got an option outside of banking and sports
Mm-hmm.
and whatever else there is.
Whatever.
I don't,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's really powerful. I mean, I'm a big sort of fan and proponent, especially as things become decentralized even more. Like, how do we build our own platforms? Because we have to. We have, because how else are the voices of the artists that you want to put out? How else are they going to get themselves out there? So yeah. All right. So next question, we talk a little bit about the wealth building around art and how it rarely benefits the artists. Have you been conjuring up new versions of what patronage looks like?
Oh man, I wish I could solve that problem. It's hard. The thing that's a real bummer, right, is that the blockchain and NFTs had this potential that nothing else came close to.
Yeah.
And when I saw them coming down the line, I was like, this is going to be awesome. These are going to be certificates of authenticity that are attached to the work forever, which means the artists will get paid a royalty forever, and some of the system will get fixed. That's not what they ended up being used for. Probably because, and this makes me sound like I'm a tin hat wearing person, but probably because the powers that be did not want that to happen. And so they invented the whole bubble and it crashed on purpose and now no one trusts it.
Yeah,
So that sucks.
that does.
But I think,
Yeah, it did have a lot of
think-
potential. Yeah, but there was also a lot of
right?
fake artists in there, like fake.
Well, but
Yeah.
but that's what I mean. Is like I think that there was a whole like conspiracy to bring it down so that there wouldn't begin to be
Mm,
royalties paid to artists forever.
for perpetuity.
I know.
So, yeah.
I sound crazy. I know that.
No, 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 no. Listen, I buy into that shit too. So that's I don't try. I mean,
And maybe
I mean, you support artists, and artists are live outside of the traditions, norms, and at certain points, art is seen as sort of reflection or a rebellion to current systems, right? And so we have to have a healthy distrust of things that are presented in front of us.
yeah, for sure. My hope too is that just artists sort of figure out how to kind of start releasing singles, start releasing, right? Like doing the small stuff so that they've got the heavy ticket items that they can sell to the super high net worth individual who wants to support the artist and the story and all that good stuff. But that there's also this other vehicle, right? We need trading cards for artists
That's
in the way that you have baseball cards, right? Like,
I love that you just said that, and I don't know if that was intentional. What you said, they need to release singles, because like some of the artists that, like, one of my favorite artists is K Tronada. You know K Tronada?
mm-mm.
He's a DJ producer. He's a producer from Montreal, and for a couple of while. Do you remember Toro y Moi? Do you remember him?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was a run for like Toro y Moi, or even like people like Tyler the Creator. They release albums and they make a moment out of it. They make it so much so, and then but when they release albums right now, that everybody's releasing everything at once. But like I love what you just said about singles, because you can take a piece of art and just blow it up, and then you can release a next single, and then the album comes out, and then that's where your collection, and then you can almost like take that on the road with you. That doesn't happen, does it?
Not yet, but I think that they're figuring it out, right? And there are some people using NFTs in a really good way. I think artists are willing to, like who's a Martha Freud. So she's a ceramicist, but she's also like started releasing candles and bowls, and like she does these huge light installations that probably cost thousands of pounds. But then she's got these candles you can buy for $1.50,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I think that's got to be the way that
That's got to be the way.
go.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so you and I are both building systems that challenge traditional gatekeeping, you in art, me in sort of business and youth development. What are some lessons that you've learned through this process that you could share about, like, because you're kind of tackling like a very old stodgy industry and trying to dismantle it and then rebuild it back up. And I even like what you said in one of your videos, just about like younger collectors, newer collectors, like in the way you mentioned, like, oh, their parents, they're not buying like their parents. Because there's a whole new generation that are consuming art in a different way and essentially interacting with communities in different way. Like what are the sort of lessons that you've learned that you could share for people building stuff outside of traditional old stodgy industries?
Think, man, like trust your gut from the beginning. Like when in talking to you just now, right? I explained to you that in Seattle, I was doing lots of things and I was loving it, right? And then I tried to like go back in the box and do the thing, and that just doesn't work. And for the longest time, I felt that the system was broken, but I was kind of too scared to say it or too scared to do anything really about it. And so I was like on the fringes doing my own thing, not in it, going, come on, everybody, what can we do differently? And I don't know. I mean, it's probably an age and stage thing where you just come to a point where you're like, I don't have forever. So I better just get on with this now. But I wish I had listened earlier to what I was saying to myself. And I honestly, I mean it. Like, I wish I've always asked tons of questions. Um, but I've kind of been scared to. And so yeah, I think I've learned that asking questions is like the very best thing you can do anywhere, right? Whether it's at a gallery, whether it's talking to someone like you.
Mhm.
And I admit I haven't gotten, and I'm gonna have you now on my pod. That's what's gonna happen, Steve,
Very good.
is that we're gonna reverse the roles here so I can ask you all the questions. But I think, like, right, asking questions of art, asking questions of each other, asking questions of like, why does the system do it that way? It doesn't seem right. Could we do it better? I think that's crucial.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Okay, so the show's called Been to the Mountaintop. And so like I came up with it because I worked in a nonprofit field and then I went to the for-profit and I feel like I saw some things that were good and I saw some things that were not so good. Just mainly being around intentional and I kept thinking about like the information that that I was learning and I was consuming, the things that I was obsessed about. And my first inkling was I'm going to start a WhatsApp group and I'm going to share it with my friends who's going to the mountaintop with me. That's literally, and then I was like, oh, I should start a podcast called Been to the Mountaintop. So what's your mountaintop? What's the world that you're building?
Artists are the mountaintop, man. Like, you can learn, go back and read even Richard Serra, like Richard Serra's interviews, read
Yeah.
Vic and Freud, read Frida Kahlo. Like, there's so much to learn from their vulnerability. And I think that is what it is. Fuck. I said it and I was like, wait, that is it. It's 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 that vulnerability, right? That artists give you, that it's so hard for all of us to do. So maybe vulnerability is the real mountaintop, but artists
Yeah.
are teaching us how.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the artists are carving their path up and you're along with them carving up the path and what you want to get to the mountaintop is vulnerability. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Carrie. So much. This is great. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your story. Tell everybody your Instagram and your website so they can check out your work.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me. I immediately knew I would like you when your DM came across, because it was not like, this is me and this is what I need for you. You were just like, you're cool, let's talk. I was like, absolutely. And I mean it. I'm going to drag you over to the Scene.Art podcast. So you can find us at Watch Scene.Art, or Scene, which is SEEN. Like, have you seen that artwork? And then Carrie Scott Curates is my Instagram, and we're everywhere you can get your podcasts and all those good things. And I mean it, Steve. If you're not on mine soon, mad.
Yeah, we'll do it. Let's make it happen for sure. I'd love to do it. And yeah, and let's figure out ways that we can collaborate.
Yes, please.
All right. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.